And so we have to shift our ask from the client to the strategic connection request, which gives us access to the client. So that's where does your client gather? Who has influence over them? Who's their coach, their mentor? Who sells to your client? Right? This is the foundation of the strategy. Everybody wants to buy. Nobody wants to be sold. So stop asking for clients, start asking for strategic connections.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here. My name is Tiffany Alexander, and this is Unveiling Journeys. Let me tell you a smidge about me. I love networking. I love the power of getting together with incredible high level people. I love the power of being able to just say, you're so fun, you're awesome, or the people that you know are incredible. Who do you know that I need to know? But also, oh my goodness, there's people that I know that you absolutely need to know. And then when you walk into a room, I always kind of want to be not the smartest person there. I want to show up and be a sponge for everybody that I get to have access to. Let me just tell you, that's exactly how I've been meeting some of the coolest people I've ever met in my life. And the show is dedicated to hearing their story because you have to know them. By all means, I want to be a megaphone for them. And with that, that's how I met Devin. Devin, welcome. Thank you for coming. Oh my goodness. Tell everybody a little bit about what you're up to and who you are.
Yeah, I'm so glad you led with networking and connections because that's me. As my shirt says, for those of you who are watching, not listening, who can I connect you with? So, yes, Devin Sizemore, serial entrepreneur. My focus for consulting is helping people strategically build their networks. I wrote the book Connection Expansion. I host ACES Connection Group, where we bring professionals together to build strategic relationships. And that's my world, and that's what I do.
Oh my goodness. Tell everybody a little bit about why you wrote these books. Like you're just kind of the master in this space.
Yeah, the writing the book was interesting because I do have a journalism and English degree, and so you would think that I would have written a book with one of my first companies, but I didn't. And I ended up partnering with Million Dollar Author. I was working with some of their clients, helping them write books. And finally, I had a client slash friend that I was working with. It's like, man, where's your book? Like you're sitting there helping us all craft these things and outline them and capture our wisdom. I'm like, dude, I don't have anything to put in a book. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, look at what you've done. And I'm not an ego guy. So for me, it's like, cool. Yeah, it's great. But then he's like, no, no, no. Like, I need you to actually like look at the impact the strategies you're teaching are having on the world, and we need to share that with more. And so I kind of flipped this switch of, I'm on a mission to facilitate 1 million connections. And in order to do that, I have to empower more people. And to do that, the best way to do it is create content. So we have a book and we have a ton of video content and share it with the world. And so that's what led to the book being published. And since then it's been fast and furious.
That's incredible. 1 million connections. It seems like just a number until you're like, that's the people. That's like, but also with the exponential factor, when you get to cut and paste and copy paste yourself and your strategy and all of that, this is like such a reachable thing. It's just a ticking clock now, right? Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you wrote the book so I didn't have to have someone tell me to go write the book. And that's probably going to be my excuse why I won't write one, because when it's been perfected, I'm just going to say, go read Devin's book. Right? Oh my goodness. Okay, let's do this. You're the master connector, networker, crushing it right now. Let's start from the beginning. Like, tell me, where are you from and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I love this. I do a lot of young entrepreneurship presentations, and I have this presentation called The Journey of a Young Entrepreneur, where this is what we talk about. And it's so fun because I love reflecting back on being a kid and, growing up in a house where my parents were like mid-level managers, really hard workers. And so I learned, hard work ethic from them, which is a blessing and a curse. Sometimes it's hard to shut it off. And then I spent my summers with my grandparents, and my grandpa owned his own business. And so that was kind of my insight into entrepreneurship and seeing what was possible and, doing a little dreaming. My first kind of hurrah into entrepreneurship was all these little moments as a kid. Like I would pick up dog poop from the neighbor's house. And then all of a sudden, like the neighbor's paying me, but then I'd have friends and be like, well, why don't you pick up the dog poop? The neighbor would pay me $5. I'd pay my friend $4. I would keep $1. Right. And you're like, it's business, right? Because now I'm making money by providing a service, but not doing the work. We've created a company, not a job. Fast track to painting numbers on curbs in high school. I would knock on doors and paint the numbers on curbs. I did photography and journalism in high school. And so I started doing headshots and recording football games for people and charging the parents and giving them a disc back then, a CD with all the photos on it. And so just all these like little entrepreneurship endeavors, all of that kind of led into college. And then that's where my first big company came around, which was a digital marketing agency.
Wait, so what'd you graduate with? You said journalism?
Yeah, so I have a journalism degree with an emphasis in writing, so print journalism, and an English degree in creative writing.
Oh my goodness. All of the fun writing stuff. Do you get tapped out like in your brain? You have to invent all the word. I mean, I heard someone tell this and it blew my mind. It's like every word's already been invented. It's in the dictionary. So I'm not going to charge you for the word. I'm going to charge you for me to assemble the dictionary in the way that you need it to be assembled.
It's so true. No, I fell in love with storytelling through journalism in high school. And I started interviewing people. And one, I think the journalism industry gives you access, which was always appealing to me because I got to be on the court or be sideline or meet the president of whatever it was or the owner of the company. So you get access. But then you get to ask all the questions you're curious about. And so it was super fun because now I get to just meet people, which is what we're doing today. Right now, that is the form of podcasts and video interviews. And I love that still. And so I actually declared as an engineering major, which is kind of a funny snippet here because I'm actually love math and I was excelling, did a bunch of AP classes. And I did a 1 day internship at a civil engineering company. And I was like, this guy hasn't talked to anyone. And all he does is sit at his desk and stare at this piece of paper. Like, I'm going to die. Like, I cannot do this. And so I redeclared for journalism in English. And I promise you, that was a great conversation with my parents. Like, hey, I'm going to go from one of the highest paying professions where there's ample jobs to the lowest paying profession where good luck finding a job. And luckily they said yes because it unlocked marketing and everything else I've done. But that was my college moment.
I love that so much. I relate so hard to you right now, except it took me like 3 semesters of meeting all these obscenely nerdy people in my degree of aerospace engineering. I was like, I think I'm going to get a degree in social butterflyness, and these guys are going to win the slot that I'm not going to make it. I got to figure something else out. I mean, don't get me wrong. All my friends are all engineers and pilots, but like they sit behind a desk just quiet. And I'm like probably most socially active person they know. Oh my gosh. Oh, wait. So you get this degree and you said it led to your first company. Other than all these little companies, you really almost had invented along the way, but didn't have to have like the LLC title because you were just hitting it hard. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, quick little backstory. When I was in college, I had an email come across for a blog writing position, which was still a very new idea in whenever that was. Like, it was very like, what is a blog? Why are we writing it? And I was like, that's interesting. So I applied, I got the job. It paid really well back then. And so I was writing blog content for an SEO company back when SEO was still this like very new thing. I worked for him all the way through college and I worked my way up the company. So I did every role. I built the websites, did the video, did editing, did the interviews, optimized the websites, did social media, did all the stuff when it was just emerging. And when I graduated, him and I went to an event. He was part of a mastermind and we were both there. He paid for me to be there. And I was sitting there at the event watching everyone ask him questions because he was a 7-figure business owner in an industry that was full of 6-figure businesses. And I listened to the questions and I'm like, I know the answers to all this because I built everything that he's answering, right? Like everything he just told you, I'm the person in the company that did it because that's what I did. And so I came back from that event and I was like, man, like, would you be okay if I launched my own company in the Reno market? Because I had this like confidence built up when he had gone national. And he's like, you know what? No, that's totally fine. Because he was focusing on a vertical. And he's like, have at it. And so I launched what was then MarqueeBiz was the company name. And I launched a digital marketing web development agency out of the second bedroom of my apartment with 1 month of rent and income in the bank and sold my way to success. That's where we started. I still have the picture of my Cocker Spaniel laying on my desk in the second bedroom. And I would sell all day and I would build websites and do all the work all night until I could afford to hire a team to get an office and scale. And but that was my first kind of big company was scaling an agency.
Oh, my dear. So did you actually step away from his company to really hit this, or were you doing this on nights and weekends on top of what he was doing?
No, I went all in. I had just enough income in the bank to survive a month, like literally to pay next month bills. I launched the company on a Thursday night logo. I was going back and forth with my attorney to make sure we could trademark the brand. I had to pay her later, by the way. And then I went to a trade show that Friday, the NCET Expo. I had a booth with some printed banners that look like crap, at home printed business cards, booked 20 plus sales meetings, closed a dozen of those, and the rest is history with that company. So no, it was a full jump off the cliff and build a parachute as you fall.
As you fall. That's incredible. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, sometimes just a month of money in the bank is a little bit of a driving factor for some people. So I'm so happy you crushed it with that. What did that lead to? How long were you doing that?
Yeah, so I love that statement you just said. I really like the idea of built Phil from broke. And I think a lot of startups are overfunded. And this is such a weird conversation, but I want to make sure we get this. I really think startups are overfunded. I think that they have so much cushion and they're so trained to raise capital that they forget they need to execute and they forget they need to be scrappy. And so I was blessed that I had to be scrappy, had to be creative, had to hustle, had to work hard. And so it's really unlocked a lot of success in future companies because I will outwork you and I will be more creative than you because that's just how I'm built now because I've never had the pitch, repitch, series A, B, C, D, F, G. I'm raising more money to build this thing that I'm not actually executing on. That's a side little rant. So to close close the loop on the marketing agency, I ended up getting an office. I hired my first employee in the first year. I ended up buying the company I worked for in college. So the company I left, I ended up buying his company. We ended up becoming partners, and then I ended up selling the collective company to him. It was his retirement plan. It was a great stepping stone for me. I then went through a spurt of trial and a whole bunch of error. And so launched a co-working space, launched a manufacturing company, and really kind of scaled my consulting agency all at the same time. Lots of bad partnerships, a whole lot of money lost, but learned a lot. And then, ended up with a really strong consulting business out of that. So there was kind of this 2-year period where all three of those companies were ebbing and flowing. That was kind of the next phase of the venture.
That's incredible. Were you sleeping ever? Because I mean, all the hats you just told me you were wearing, it sounds like when I hit the grind and I'm like, well, put my kids to bed and we're going to work another 4 hours.
Yeah, it was a season. I would say all the way through this part of the story, I worked way too much, gained a lot of weight. The first business led to a divorce, was so focused on the company, not my life. And then I went through this series of just like, I guess, my midlife crisis, but in my teeth and just launched everything I could and thought I could do everything and just worked an ungodly amount of hours. And, the gamble didn't pay off, right? Like I ended up losing a whole lot of money and maintained a lot of relationships through all that. But, I went through a season of like, oh, you're not invincible. And you're gonna learn some lessons right now. And so now it was a blessing. Then it felt a whole lot like a curse. But no, worked a ton, was very unhealthy, was not balanced. It was all I cared about. I didn't have kids then. Again, I had just come off a divorce. It was just me. And so it was just a season of like, I'm just gonna try it all. Which then led to the clarity in what I'm really good at and kind of, led to where we're at today. So all of that's foundational stuff to get here, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what your 20s are for, like the hustle and grind. I mean, not that at the sake of relationships, but at the same time that you get to make your mistakes, right? You're still pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and keep pressing forward as hard as possible. And then growing your confidence for the next thing you're going to pick up, which was, tell me, I want to know.
Yeah, so I did do a corporate stint. It's on the resume, it's on LinkedIn. I ended up landing a really nice corporate job where basically I ran a whole region. Realized that I'm unemployable. And so that was a short stint because I like to own my own companies and run my own companies. And so then just went back to consulting. Consulting has been consistent through this whole story. So as soon as I had my agency, I was doing consulting. It's just had moments during this story where it's the priority or it's not. And so after I left that corporate position, it was 100% just consulting and really doubling in to focus on the connection side. With the exception that my wife and I did launch a cat cafe in there and we did sell it. And so there's a whole random piece to this as well.
Like meow cat?
Yeah, so this is the fun story. So yeah, so again, consulting after the corporate gig which stabilized stuff and got the income back where it needed to be. And it was a great moment. Consulting became the focus, but my wife and I were going on a vacation And we went down the California coast and we were listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast the whole trip. And we were like, what do we want to invest in? Where do we want to put money? What do we want to do together? We knew we wanted to do something together. We just didn't know what. So we were like, do we put it into real estate? Do we put it into commercial or residential or businesses? I like businesses, obviously, in case that hasn't become clear through this story. And so we were like, already booked a cat cafe to go visit because I saw a YouTube video. I was like, this will be fun. We went. I'm sitting in there running the numbers going, these guys are doing $3,500 a day, $3,500 a day in a cafe, 30 days a week or a month. And you're like, that's like a real company. And then she's looking around because she's a mural artist and designer. And she's like, man, this is not designed well. Like we could make it so much better. And so then we went to Disneyland, which is a full immersion into creativity. Right. And so it kind of, we both had these things going. And on the drive home, we went, man, maybe we should look for some properties. We started looking and we ended up signing a lease October 1st of that year. We ended up opening January 1st. So we didn't actually get the keys until October, November, I think November 1st, we got the keys. And then we opened in January. And then we sold it to an employee after 6 months, which was crazy. We launched it for a very little bit of money, which is crazy. And yes, you pay by hour to hang out with cats. We had a whole adoption arm. We had a coffee shop. We had an event space. Fascinating, super cool project. And then we realized we don't want to be in retail, but our employee did. And we self-financed the buyout. And she paid us off a year early and she rebranded. And now she's looking at a new location. She's absolutely crushing it. And so it's a cool part of our story.
That's an incredible story. I love that so much. You're like near and dear to my heart when you crack into creative finance. I'm like, yes, please. This is how these baby boomers businesses need to keep on running instead of just shutting their doors. We won't go there. This isn't about them right now. But that's so fun. All right. So while you're doing the cat cafe, it's also running alongside other things, right?
Yeah, so consulting was still going. So Haley was still running her mural business. I was still running a consulting business. We had the cafe. And so we would trade off who was running the cafe so we could run our other companies. And then we ended up hiring a team and the cafe ran itself. And then, from then on, it was just consulting, right? And consulting looks and feels different because the world I play in is all about partnerships and brand exposure. And so there are a lot of brands that I represent over time, but really it's all built on this idea of strategic growth and strategic partnerships. And, that's been the focus ever since.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh. Right. Did we come full circle? Like you're still in consulting, you're doing your networking jam. When did all of this start to turn into you're writing your books and you're really hard with these, like leaning heavily into the networking side of this for your consulting?
Yeah, 4, maybe 5 years ago now, I guess 5 years, I had a mentor, a coach that was like, "Hey, it's great that you're doing this consulting thing." And I was doing well at it and making pretty good money in it, and it was fun. And we still do sessions, which was a good takeaway of how we consult. That's still very clear to my identity. But he's like, "Man, you need to differentiate. Like, you're a generalist, that's hard to position you to my network." I was like, "I don't disagree." And that's where we started really dissecting, what led to success in the marketing company, what led to success in the co-working space, which let us sell out before we opened, what led to success in the manufacturing company where we generated an ROI in 45 days. Like there's some crazy growth metrics in each one of these stories. And the commonality there is what's now the connection expansion system. So there was this systematic way that we built relationships that I innately had figured out. And I had just kept duplicating it. And that was actually the system. And so he kind of held the mirror up and went, man, like there's this thing here that you've actually perfected. And I don't think people have figured out this ability to systematize referrals or systematize network growth in a duplicatable, scalable way. And I'm like, I actually agree. And so I leaned in and we started documenting everything. And that kind of led to this idea of like, look, that's who I am. I'm going to be the connector who helps people become connectors. And I rebranded the consulting company at that point to Your Referral Partner, which now fast tracks to Ace's Connection Group. But that was kind of the foundation of leading to where we are now.
My goodness, this is so fun. When I hear about the success that you've had and the impact, I love hearing that you're not just like B2C, you're B2B because you're teaching this system to other people that's creating this like ripple effect to everyone that you end up hanging out with, unless you're giving them just like a straight up referral, but then they can't help themselves but to reciprocate that in many different ways. All right, child. I have a little mini appearance from my 5-year-old. But in that,
Yes.
I absolutely see you you show up and you keep pressing forward, and I just get the feeling of like you just care so much, but why do you care so much?
Yeah, it's really settling into this idea that it is totally okay to just add value. And so I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to coaches and masterminds and mentors, and I do totally believe in it. And there's some core philosophies that I just disagree with. And it's okay. Like it's okay to disagree with your mentors and coaches. It's totally okay. And so for me, what I've realized is if I'm not having fun, it's the wrong business. So fun is always the first priority. If I'm not adding value to others and helping them do the same, I'm not interested in the company. I won't invest in a company where we're not adding value somewhere. Like I just want to add value. And the art of connections is magical because it creates amazing things. And so it just drives me every day. Like it is so purely who I am that I just wanted to own it. And as soon as I stepped into it, as soon as I put the shirt on, as soon as I wrote the book, as soon as, we grabbed the hat, right? So, as soon as we put the hat on that says real people, real connections, like this is who I am. This is so authentically me. I'm nothing else. And
Hmm.
so that's why I do it because I don't need to be something I'm not. I can just show up as Devin, the connector, which is what I literally do for a living. And I can just add as much value everywhere I want, and in turn, it's the butterfly effect, right? Or the ripple effect, where like I have no clue the impact it's having, and it doesn't matter. What matters is let's just keep adding and let's see what happens.
I love that so much. That's just like the spirit of generosity, but also the idea of just abundance in general. Because you're going to show up to anybody that you've been meeting, including myself, and we hung out, we got to know each other. And some people just show up like this and they're like, hey, but you showed up like, hey, like let me just funnel, let me be like a conduit, right? And just go through me to see who it is you need to know next. And you bring that to everybody that you meet. And I love that so much because it's hard to find. Some people have to be trained to become like this. And yet, we're still showing up to be that. And you're doing it like over and over and over. And I see that through all the people that kind of come to the ACEs group. I got to come to one already. It's so exciting. I can't wait to come to more. And in that, I show up and I get to be the mini you, right? Like, oh my gosh, yeah, here's all the people. Who does everybody need to know? And I just appreciate that so much because that's what I want people to understand, that there are more people out there that really genuinely want your best interest and your referral away from the next guy to help you go crush it, because that's how we're going to go crush it. I guess. Okay. Tell me a little bit about like, what do you have like on the horizon? What are you working on right now?
Yeah. First, thank you. I appreciate you. And I'm so glad you got to experience a connection blitz. We had one today and we had 21 people on, and it was just magic. Like the amount of connections and meetings booked, it's just amazing. And it's so fulfilling. So I just love that. And so right now the big focus is, ACES is sitting at 240-ish members as recording. We're getting ready to launch a blitz to 1,000. And so we have over $20,000 in prizes that we're going to give away when we hit 1,000. And so we're inviting everyone to come hang out with us and just create magic together. Beyond that, we'll make a blitz to 10,000. We'll probably have over 100,000 in prizes for that. And we're just going to add value and love on people and just create magic together. And we're going to focus on exactly what it says behind me: real people, real conversations, real connections. And that will then lay the foundation for 1 million connections.
This is gonna be phenomenal, and, of course, sign me up. I can't wait to start to share some of those people, because immediately when someone's like, "I need to know a guy," I'm like, "Alright, I know a few. How many do you need? But should we start with the biggest ones? Yeah, let's go." That was my last email to you. "Devin, how do I get people to you again?" You're like, "Oh, just do this." I'm like, okay, good." I love that. Alright. At this point, people are thinking, "Wait, I can Google you, but how do you want me to come find you? Like, how do you want people to come and connect with you?"
Yeah, I tell everyone the same thing. The easiest way to really understand what I do and how I do it is either join ACES directly, hop in. My whole master class is in there. You can join the next connection blitz. You can get the information because it'll really give you the soul of what we're building, or hop on a connection blitz. And so you can email me, you can connect with me on any platform. My handle is DP Sizemore. Go to devinsizemore.com. All of that's going to probably end up with you hopping on a connection blitz meeting because, again, it's a quick way for you to learn about me, but then let's create some momentum together instantly. So, however you want to connect with me, raise your hand, say hi, say you heard it here. Let's get you on a meeting and let's figure out how we can collaborate.
Absolutely. If you're like, I'm just listening to this, send me a message on LinkedIn. I'll get you connected directly. He's the only Devin Sizemore. You got to know he's the one. So let me do this. I want to wrap up the show with kind of your favorite like nugget or story or piece of advice you want to leave with everyone.
So fun. Let's do this one. So let's talk about changing your ask, and let's define that. So if I ask you as a listener, who do you want to know or who can I connect you with? Right. That's how I leave most meetings. Most people default to an ideal client. That's what you're trained to answer with. Like, I'm looking for blank. That's who I want to connect with. But I want you to understand what happens when you answer it that way. You're asking me to go in my network, narrow it down to that ideal client profile, and then make an introduction which positions that person to be sold by you. That's such a big ask, and there's so much friction in there. Then you're going to get frustrated because you think you've given me a clear ask, but you've actually set unfair expectations. You're not going to get the number of connections you want, and we're all disappointed. And so we have to shift our ask from the client to the strategic connection request, which gives us access to the client. So that's, where does your client gather? Who has influence over them? Who's their coach, their mentor? Who sells to your client? Right? This is the foundation of the strategy. So the last quote I want to leave people with is, remember, everybody wants to buy, nobody wants to be sold. So stop asking for clients, start asking for strategic connections.
Ooh, dang. Say it louder for those in the back. Our serial networkers listening.
Listen again. Come on, guys. Stop shoving business cards at people and make it easier to actually connect.
I couldn't even tell you the last time I printed business cards because here's my cell phone. Let's hang out, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, my dear. This has been phenomenal. I appreciate your advice so much. You've given just tremendous amounts of wisdom, and I love hearing your story. Thank you guys for hanging out to the very end. And thank you again, Devin, for your time. I will see you guys on the next episode. And don't forget to click on all the links below, connect with Devin. If you want to be involved in his world, you should. And then I will maybe see you guys at one of his next meetings. Bye bye for now.